Hey, it's Chris. What are we doing? Best of January 2024. Last month, where were things? Again, not going to be necessarily the best, as I always talk about with sports, right? It's the most valuable player. That doesn't necessarily mean what you always think it means, and that's why it's always a little bit divisive. And this is what we're going to be talking about this month as well. Nothing different than previous. But what and why for me, right? Retail, played, crowdfunding, a little bit of a mix of everything, as always, because your boy's going to talk about what he wants on the channel, because it's what's fun, right? I'm passionate about it, and sometimes I get myself in a little bit of trouble. Let's go, though. So let's start with the crowdfunding of January. Let's talk about this, because we had about 5 projects now that launched in January that broke 6 figures. And what's always interesting is there's this geek list on Board Game Geek that keeps track of it and how well they fund, and then it ultimately says which ones are the highest fundings, which ones have broken 1 million, which one is the highest one year to date. And so right now, claiming that prize is the Conan expansion project over on Kickstarter that finished, right? That is so far, barring, Earthborn Heroes really having a surge here in the end of February, and a few other things like Simon's A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics blowing things out of the water after its launch now. We'll see where this ends up, but did you want Conan? One versus all Conan system? Again, we're talking like 80s Conan aesthetic vibe with a relatively well thought of, but is it more the grass is greener? This game has been out of print and unavailable getting it? And a lot of nostalgia buy and a lot of, I couldn't get all the stuff I wanted to it the first time around? Or is this really a bunch of people that weren't in on the first time going in now on the second time or third time or whatever time it is? And to be fair, when you go over to the crowdfunding page, it's a better split of things than I was actually expecting. You have about 1,000 people getting, sort of everything. King Pledge, the Red Nails expansion, the Versus mode, the Worms of the Earth box, all of that fun stuff. But the majority, almost 50%, just went with the Veteran Pledge, all the new stuff essentially, right? So 50% getting the new stuff and the rest kind of mishmashing the old. I mean, is that a better ratio or not? And honestly, I haven't looked at too many of these to know from that side of things. If you told me that was a good ratio, I'd believe you. If you told me that was a bad ratio of returning to new, I'd also believe you. And so that'd be something I'd be curious to know how many people are interested in this. And again, it only raised $1 million. And I say only in that sense because the first one was Godzooks amounts, right? And it reminds me a little bit of, in a way, of Batman Gotham City Chronicles, where that first one blew people out of the water, right? Absolutely, expectations, whoosh. And then the second one and the third one. So, again, if this had come a year ago, 2 years ago, would this have been as hot? I have no idea. Again, for a one versus all style game that has its cupboards bared wide open, right? This is not something that you go into blindly wondering if you're going to like it. There's enough content out there that you can figure it out. New expansion, versus mode. Is the versus mode really the twist of more than anything else? Now, there's not as many people on that only versus mode pledge level, but I guess maybe a combination of the whole there. So that was the first big one up. Second one, again, this one really surprised me with this end total amount here with Kabuto Sumo, the Sakura Slam. Nearly $700,000 for people buying this insect-based sumo slow play dexterity wooden push 'em game, right? That's all it is. Ever been to the arcade game where you have to drop those coins down and it pushes them on and off the moving platform that's going like this or like this if we're doing it on the camera so you can actually tell what I'm doing, right? You know which one I'm talking about, right? It's been around for decades. It's impossible to win. So suckers bet. My kids want to go play arcade games all the time for those tickets. And you know how hard it is to tell kids that I would rather go buy them the actual item that they want because it'll be cheaper in the long run and they'll be less disappointed by the crap that they get from the arcade. Side tangent there. But that is kind of what this game is, only with cute wooden pieces and a nice wooden aesthetic and an awesomely aesthetically pleasing Sakura Slam edition here as a standalone expansion to offer something that's compatible and new, but also to, be fixed with the base game in the first place with its expansion. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I love that wooden Lazy Susan that they went for like $70 or $80. That thing looks fantastic, because my biggest complaint with the original cardboard one was you get these cardboard things, right? And when you're slotting them in and trying to make them mash, and it's just got to be so tight, so there's no wiggle room, but it's so tight that you sometimes have trouble getting them in. And then if one goes in all the way and one doesn't go in all the way, how do you get this lopsided fix? It's like if your class table loses one of their little bottom felt things, right? And your class table is just sitting slightly askew. Not that that happens to anyone else. And I'm just totally speaking, facetiously and hypothetically. But that's why I look at this wooden one and I go, okay. And it's a bit of a divisive game because, we play our dexterity games as fast, push them, move them, hit them, quick, right? Clask, crokinole, catacombs, anything along those lines, tumbling dice. Pew, pew, pew. But this is like snail, slug, and it just has a different vibe and a different aesthetic, and the different shape wooden pieces that you're utilizing now with sort of the four corners. They've gone with the squared circle, if you will, for my Redditors, version of wrestling in that sense, which is kind of a weird combination, going for the sumo, but then the squared circle ring of a traditional. Anyway, I diverge. Anyway, Okada apparently signing with AEW, in case you didn't get that notice in the middle of this video, right? Oh man, I really kind of wanted to hear the coin drop in WWE. Not because I think he'd be better in WWE, but just because it'd be such a different clash of styles, and I'd like to see what they could do there. Clash of styles clash. Anyway, I'm done there. Okay, back to the board games at hand. So, frankly speaking, for an all-play campaign here, that was only doing this game, man, nearly $700,000. This is inarguably their best product. You can argue that in the comment section, though, because I'm probably wrong. I'm probably forgetting something, but I would say so. Standalone, small push-em dexterity game, getting almost $700,000 on crowdfunding. Like dexterity games, like small boxes, like just that style of game doesn't normally do bonkers on crowdfunding. Dexterity, again, going back to the first point, especially, it just doesn't have the appeal most of the time to that audience. And to do it like this is relatively impressive as a whole. So I give them a lot of kudos. The next one we have to talk about, again, over $200,000 here from Fryx Games, Terraforming Mars, Fate, Defenders of Grimhelm. I didn't know anything about this until I covered it on the crowdfunding roundup. And have you heard anything about it since? Like a couple preview videos. But largely, all in all, when I covered it on the roundup as well, there's no rule book. And they're like, hey, pandemic cooperative with like Norse and, Ragnarok and, that mythology and cool asymmetric build 'em up whatevers, right? I guess 30 minutes per player, light style, you'd think cooperatively just falling completely under something that I would love. And I just left it going, meh? Why? What? More info? The sparsity of the stuff on the page was just confusing. Why would you not show more stuff? You are an established company who knows how to do this, who has done this with other games. Terraforming Mars. So I don't know why this was so dichotomously different. And I won't be lying to you and tell you that, this one's completely off my radar. No, I mean, like, this one is going to be on my, okay, I've got an eye on it, Big fan of card cooperatives here. Big fan of co-ops that are lighter, easier to get to the table to fam as well. So I'm game for this, but I'm game for, seeing how it comes out and what the reviews are. And if I can pick it up on the secondary market for at cost or less, even more so. Because I think that was sort of the other thing. It was going for 50 euros, 50 pounds, I forget, 50 euros on the actual campaign. And I said, okay, 50 euros. Supposed to be delivered before the end of the year in October, allegedly now. I can wait that long. I can skip a little promo pack right now, or I can buy somebody else's because the promo pack, is going to be included in the $65 one here. And I mean, I guess if you want to pay for an expansion too, you're talking $70+ before shipping. I said, for $90 cooperative game that's mostly card based, that's a very pretty penny expensive. And I can see myself hit or missing with this one because not a lot of the other aspects known from the actual gameplay dynamics, right? you can have a couple previews on the board. You can have a little bit of a playthrough, right? But on anything that's crowdfunding wise, it's always hard to tell, as I've said repeatedly, how much of that rulebook is internalized, how much of that rulebook is not fleshed out, how much of the other minutia that make this game more complicated, more involved, or gets added on later because you're layering how much you want players to go through. Like first play, you add this, second play, you add this, third play, you add this. I'm playing through Divinus right now as we speak. Well, not literally, but figuratively with my wife in terms of their tile-laying legacy campaign game from Lucky Duck, right? This, adding this, adding this, adding this, adding this. And if I told you the review based off of the first rules, I mean, I'd be giving you a halfway completely incomplete situation. And that's kind of how I look at playthroughs for the most part. I mean, it gives you a smattering, an aperitif. That's a French word, I think, for just appetizer, essentially, a small bite of what it may actually look like. So you can find out if you're interested. You can also find out if it's a complete turnoff, but I don't think you can make the full judgment necessarily of saying, wow, this is really going to be right for me as well. Because there are a few games that we can do that with. I'm not saying you can't do it with any games. Don't misquote me in the comment section. But it's hard to get a real full grasp of that. So that's why I was a little bit disappointed once I actually found out about that one. The next one up here, again, was probably the biggest surprise of the month. Explorers of Navoria from Grande Games. Now, there was an issue. They were one of the Launchboom people that I criticized about the FOMO side of things. And to be frank, that's actually, I'm seeing 2 or 3 a week right now that are launching with Launchboom. So I don't know how many of them are doing this sort of pre-order, if you will, on the crowdfunding, and I'm staying out of that right now. And I understand, like I said previously, about why publishers do it. I understand why, people might be incentivized to do it, but it still doesn't make me happy. Like, I'm still not going to be at peace with it. I understand you do what you got to do, right? I had several small publishers email me, contact me after I put that video out, and they said, hey, Chris, we do this because X, Y, and Z. And the main reasons were, and I'm not going to tell you who they were, but the main reasons were, hey, we have to do this as a business. As one of these small companies, we need to have the funded in X. We need to have the funded by whatever, right? Because now too many people judge it by purely that aesthetic. And that's a horrible thing that our hobby has turned into, folks. I mean, that's a whole video right there in and of itself that I should be doing. And, I guess that's what I'll be recording now later this week because it just gave me something else to talk about. But I hate that. And they recognize it, and I recognize it that they recognize it. But at the same time, I'm also a consumer, right? I am sitting in these shoes going, why should I get this game for me? Not solely just supporting the company, but also if I just support every company that says I need your help, right? Well, you're going to have, overflow stackage here that you can actually see on the camera before, right now you can only see it because it's only, below table level. But I don't have that. Do you have that? No. There was also this other forums commenting very vocally about the art aesthetic being very similar to Roots style of things. I don't care. I'll be honest. You can copy, you can imitate, but if you don't put out the goods in the first place, it's going to fall flat. So I'm staying out of it as far as that side of things. I'm interested to see. I really kind of want to see what this game was. I saw a lot of comments about people were playing it online on whatever the tabletop simulator, board game arena, Tabletopia, whatever they had it on, of saying I either really freaking loved it or I thought it was a mishmash of, mechanisms and didn't work for me whatsoever, swing and miss. Try before you buy, baby. See how you feel about it and see where it goes. Because, again, I think it's looking like a combination of things, light style, that I would like. So I'd like to give it, sound like a Valley girl, a chance. So we'll see. Last one, silver. Big box collector's edition from Bezier. I mean, Bezier has got a type, right? Put out your big boxes, put out your collector's editions, snap them up, right? And so for, again, a light style game, you're going to poo-poo this. They raised nearly $250,000. Now, nearly $250,000 with only 1,800 backers, though. Okay, it's a pretty penny then if you're doing the math there at home. But I looked at this game and I said, I don't need these games. I'd like one of these games, though. But these strike me as sort of the faction asymmetric style games as well, right? And the only difference is, you know, if you have one of those factions, you know, you can buy them separately. With these games, you can also buy them separately, but I don't know which ones I'm going to like. I don't know which of these mechanisms I'm going to appreciate in a golf style, flip them up style, face down, deal what you got, have one slight unique mechanism per game, swap them in and out based on the numbers situation that you find yourself in. Because if you buy this big box, yeah, you know what? You are going to have everything, and you are going to be freaking awesome for that. And guess what? You're not going to play 3/4 of them. Am I wrong? Probably not. Probably not. 1 or 2 are going to be your favorites. So the other silver ones that you're collecting alongside of that big box aren't going to be utilized. And so you can pay a premium penny for this higher pledge level, $79, $99, $139, or $159. Everything silver with a 5 to 6 player expansion. How many 5 or 6 player expansions do you think you need for this? I know how many I need, right? You can guess that number in the comment section down below. But I'd love to give this game a shot. This is a game where I wish someone would bring this to game night. I could try it out. See what flavor, see what style of manipulation and asymmetric one-off mechanisms that I enjoy comparatively. Play 2 or 3 of them. Someone bring this to the game night. I'll pick my one at retail after they leave, and I'll get it shipped to me via whatever service I feel like. That's how I look at this one. But Bezier's got a crowd for these things. And again, I give them kudos from a business side of things, but from a consumer side of things, I always have a little hard time endorsing them as well. So what else happened then? If we've hit the crowdfunding, what were my personal tops? Well, again, this one, January was a relatively lower month for me. I didn't play a ton of new stuff. I didn't play a bunch of hotness, right? Only about 3 or so things that are worthwhile and of note. And 2 of those I've just done reviews on. They should be both out before this video. If they're not, something's gone horribly wrong. First one, though, is, well, it was on my top 10 of 2023, folks. I stand by this, right? My top 10 of 2023 was relatively an outlier. Relatively not like the others. Which one of these is not like the other? Bing! Because I had like 5 games on there like hardly anyone else had or anyone else had altogether whatsoever. And one of those games was Lacuna from CMYK. Guess what? Played it more in January. Can't play it one time. Have to play it multiple times. All the kids want to get in on it, right? The 3-year-old wants to just grab stuff. The 10-year-old, he just turned 10. The 10-year-old wants to play, which then causes the 8-year-old to want to take a turn too, and they both want to play me. Which inevitably, then I maybe sometimes force them to play each other to kind of see how this side of things is working. And it's just a fun game. It's light, it's super easy to play, hits the table easily, and, you know, it's got the weird looking canister that you can kind of do or do without. So, easily my most played game of the month. Fantastic game. Never going to go anywhere. Probably a top 30 or 40 game for me all time. Maybe higher. I'm going to try and do that list maybe later this year. Top 100 games. Maybe start with 50. 100 is very, what's the term I'm looking for here? Top 100 is probably going to be a little aggressive. I'm not sure I can manage that one. That'd be a lot of work because I'd want to actually grab the games and have them, not just show pictures alone. And so that's a little bit less work on the post-editing side of things, but boy, howdy, finding some of this stuff around here and then not like missing one, right? Like all of a sudden you get to like 50s or 30s and you're like, oh my gosh, I just forgot this game and it should have been there. And then how do you I'm getting sidetracked here. Game number 2. Well, game number 2 was actually, well, you know what? Let's make 2, 3, and 3, 2. Game number 2, we're gonna go Sea Dragons. Crowdfunding at the time you guys are watching this. Just a fantastic game. Light style. They sent me a copy and I could play it in Spanish and they're going to be porting over an English version. It's language independent though once you learn the rules. So it works. I just love the area control, little dragon meeples sorting through the water, little polyomino-esque style of set collection going on there. It's a beautiful game to look at. It works. It's not overly long for what it is. There's not too many options. So, my wife enjoys it from that side of things. That's spoilers on Divinus here. There's many things going on with Divinus, and it almost becomes a little much. But we'll talk about that next month in February, or the review, which will be out before the best of February, because that game I'm going to have done. So that is just a fantastic game. Hopefully it's not, too high of price on the crowdfunding campaign, and I wonder if there's going to be any little extras, because I just have a base game. So it's just not available in North America, though, otherwise. And that might be the most incentive to get it, is because when some of these small indie games, just like with 25th Century Games' import collection right now, you just might not be able to find elsewhere very easily, period. unless they're being imported by somewhere like Board Game Bliss. So that was number 2. Number 3, World Wonders. Again, hopefully my review for that will be out before this, but I really like that. Letter style polyomino, monuments. I'm our 13th game, highest rated game, best game, 2023, whatever, 13. And it really kind of replaces a few things for me. I would argue, based on complexity, learning curve, ease to get to the table, it may be edging out Planet Unknown. Planet Unknown's nice, right? But I don't necessarily want to devote an hour and a half at a 2 to maybe 3 player game for polyominoes all the time. And so with this, for half an hour, strikes almost all those boxes at the same sense. I love the monument mechanism, getting so many monuments in the base game, but then also how you buy the monuments. Like, I hate games where they lock all the cool stuff behind walls and you can barely get to the cool stuff. And this basically says, you got the conditions, you got $1, here you go. Because you just spend whatever money you have left to buy the monument. It costs anywhere from 1 to all your money. And it's a cool, unique mechanism I haven't seen done elsewhere in that sense. I actually much prefer it over the Princess of Florence as well, which I had a review out that I've been pending and working on in the background for a while now. So it's just a fantastic game. And they're coming out with more of it, the expansion pack with just more wonders, or good stuff, essentially. The best of the game, sometime this year. I don't know when, but I think it'd be an easy pickup too from those aspects. Last up of my best of the month for the games played, shout out to Space Base, right? It's my wife's favorite game. Space Base, she did not like Bad Company whatsoever. She destroyed us again, and we were playing with another couple. And I like it because it makes my wife happy. Not the winning. No, the winning, don't get me wrong. The winning makes her really happy. But she's enjoying herself with the game. And my wife will play a lot of these board games with me. But few and far between are the ones that she really, you can see it being enjoyable for her on her face. So that's why this one is always going to hold a special place in my heart from that sense of things. Because it just works, and you know what? It's not about winning. It's not about how complex or how mechanically sound a game is. And this epitomizes that for me, of just, this is an enjoyable, what I'm getting into the hobby for in the first place style of experience. That right there, folks, without getting a little sappy, emotional, or, spent on you there, that's what it's about. And that's why it's on this list. It's nothing doing fantastically unique. It's totally random. It's a crapshoot. I have a horrible strategy. I'm 1 in 25 or 1 in 26, literally. But anytime she'd ask to play it, I would play it. Because it just does exactly what I said. And you can't evoke that with everything that you do nowadays. Just don't. I don't get that from a lot of the stuff. She gets it from even less. So the ones that do, boom, shaka laka. NBA Jam reference there. Then we're going to go back over to the best of the retail. Though again, we'll go back over to the best of retail here to end the video out, because there are a few notables at retail that I just have to highlight in case you didn't watch the Don't Buy It at Retail video, because I love doing that, because I just like telling you not to buy things. I love being the contrarian in some ways on this channel, of saying, hey, instead of watching another video that tells you that there are 17 games that you need to buy this month, and if you don't buy them, well, you're going to be missing out, and you're going to be having grass is greener FOMO syndrome, essentially. Let's talk about maybe why they're not right for you, or why you maybe shouldn't get them, or why they just don't fit with where you're at in whatever way, shape, or form of play style, game length, or player count, or mechanistic approach. And so first up, I just have to give a shout out to El Grande. The main reason is that, as I said in my hottest video from earlier this month, the games that are on my hot list, right? Not the games that are everybody's hot list, but my personal freaking hot list, that if you are patient, it will come back. Don't buy secondary scalper market. I just bought, as the example I used in that video, I bought Imperium the Contention for $39, folks. That's a grail game for me ever since I found out about 2 years ago. It's been out of print. It's out of practice. It's not available. Less than like $100 for even the base game. The deluxe expansion only brings like a solo version of it. Asymmetric faction space faring 4X whatever card game. And that issue was exemplified right now by 2 of the other games on my hotness, Dune War for Arrakis and Bloodstones, that are being scalped for like 100% profit price on the secondary market. And El Grande has been the same way in that sense. And if you waited, your patience was frickin' rewarded. And similarly, if you're going to wait again, Tigris and Euphrates is also going to be rewarded. You don't have to pay a bundle. Now, if you are a immediate gratification and I got to play it now side of things, sure. But if you're not, well, this is just another example of why waiting is better. Oh no, I didn't buy the game. What am I going to play? Right? Right? It's the dopamine hit. It's the dopamine hit of the click it now, buy it, inbox, shipping. That's what you're doing. And so if you can wait, well, El Grande for $35 sounds a hell of a lot better, right? Than El Grande for $100, 6 months ago or a year ago. Truth be told there, right? The other one I have to give a little love to, Life of Amazonia. Fantastic game. 18 on my best of 2023. Cascadia meets Quacks of Conundrum, only longer, more complex, and more intricate. Just works though. Don't need the waterfall. Love the animal meeples. Kind of like the endgame scoring. Have to deplete enough animals onto your hexes in the first place in order to trigger it. But combination of those mechanics I didn't think was going to work. It did. Cardboard a little bit too overly ambitious in terms of some of the pieces and just unnecessariness. But the gameplay I think is going to stand up and hold up well. And if I had a few more animals, I would be perfectly content as a whole with it. Because it's offering enough combination that, just like Cascadia, you don't need 70 different animals. Give each of those animals a few variants and boom, you're done. It's more than enough from that side of things. The other one that I've been, touching on here and there as well, the latest Unmatched expansion, Sun's Origin. Had it in my cart a couple times, and I just can't pull the trigger. It's available, I believe, widely now. It's also been available a little bit longer from Roxley. So I just look at it, 2-character expansion. Can't get Tales of Amaze played enough. Can't get the head-to-head stuff played as regularly as I'd like. But I'm still looking for that one that kind of gives me those vibes of love. So I'm looking at that one heavily. Then last up, Deliverance here. As the crowdfunding Angels versus Demons dungeon crawl-esque, slightly heavier, slightly more learning curve, slightly more asymmetric. Upgrade your angel, knock out the demons, and win scenario-based system, a la sort of a little bit of Cthulhu Myth May Die there. So that one, again, probably under the radar, underappreciated, indie publisher, slightly more expensive though. Reminds me very much of Brother Ming Games with their situations with Genshin Taro as well as Fire Emblem, with those style of games that are going to be underappreciated overall. Wide availability is going to be non-existent, but if it's for you, it's for you. And you know what? Something different enough, right? Because that's the other thing I'll say is with all the dungeon crawls, crowdfunding wise and other, that it's often hard to determine, is it truly different enough? And this one I think is different enough to warrant it. But again, is it going to be for you with some of those asymmetric learning curves? That's going to be what you're going to have to figure out. Is it just too much of a good thing? Because as I've said several times previously in some of the bigger campaigns, totally is a true thing. And that'd be the biggest thing I'd worry about with that one as a whole. But those are the big highlights as well at the retail. There you go. That is my month of January in review. Let me know what you think. What was hot on your list? Crowdfunding, retail, arrival, buying, otherwise. Didn't cover, but we should probably have talked about a little bit more of ISS Vanguard and Mythic Battles Ragnarok, because I've got both of those. Truth be told, I don't know when they're ever going to hit the table. Part of me just wants to wrap them back up and sell them for cheap. I just do. And I'm not sure. I'd love to try them out. I'd love to give them the depth and the breadth of experience that they so deserve. But I just don't know comparatively, depth-wise, time availability-wise, if that's going to happen. And so what do you think? Should I just wrap those up and call it quits with those? Should I do them? I saw several people saying, just, a couple bigger name people that had some early copies of Ragnarok. Ooh, this game's amazing. Production's off the charts. Mine's still in shrink. Got nothing but the core pledge. Got the stretch goal box, got the upgrade box, got the core. And I kind of regret not getting some of those cool expansions with some of the demigods like Loki and one of the other, the worm, fire worm guy, whatever. But at the same time, also knowing I'm not going to get it played. Same thing with ISS Vanguard. Like, that is a dedication, right? At least with like the other that I mentioned, Divinus, that's like a 30-minute, 40-minute session, easy setup, easy teardown. And ISS Vanguard, I just have worries that it's not. Yeah, you got a binder. Yeah, you can keep track. But can I play it for half an hour and be done? Is that going to behoove me? Is that going to be worthwhile from that aspect of things? And if the answer is not yes, then the answer ultimately is also then probably no. Because I don't want to half it, It's not, no, can't do that. So we'll see. That's probably another update for next month to let you know. Did it or did it not? What do you think? Should I just get rid of them? Poll down below. Let me know in the comment section. I'm easily swayed. Not really. Just kidding. I'm not, but I can be guilted. That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. Play something fun. Or not. It's up to you. Play something you hate. Go play something you hate. Spend all your time playing something you hate, right? That's what, a bunch of commenters always say on Reddit and stuff. They only play stuff that they like. They only talk about stuff that they like. That's silly. Okay, you, on your free time, go play a bunch of stuff that you hate, and you tell me how you feel afterwards. Good luck with that. I'm done. Peace out. Rant over.